And Mr. Speaker, it's very difficult to get a law, to get a bill convert into a law in this current bicameral setup. It now appears that you need an average of 3 years for a legislative proposal to get to the point where there is agreement on it. And Mr. Speaker, now that the mediation committee that comprised members from both houses of parliament have agreed on a version that is acceptable, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank members who have debated and who have agreed that we take the amendments that have been suggested by the National Assembly. Mr. Speaker, this is the true lawmaking, that the Senate can originate a bill or the National Assembly can originate a bill, and if there is disagreement, we don't fight in public or we don't insult each other. We sit in mediation, go clause by clause, and ensure that we are in agreement on the final outcome. And Mr. Speaker, I really look forward, and I hope that the head of state is going to assent to this bill immediately the two houses dispense with this motion. And I want to call on Senator Murango that despite whatever political convictions you might have, this is such an important bill that you might need to be present at State House to witness its assent because you have fought for the farmers, you have fought for the coffee farmers. When you are my chair in the Agriculture Committee, you spoke with passion about the fate of agriculture and the fate of farmers in this country. Mr. Speaker, we know Senator Murango has even gone to court to ensure that our economy is not flooded with cheap rice imports that would kill the farmers of Mwea, the farmers of Kano, the farmers of Ahero. So Senator Murango, this one, go to State House. This one, witness the signing. This one, demand to take the pen that has been used to sign that particular piece of legislation, because that is a parliamentary tradition that when you come up with such a good legislative proposal, you need to be there when it's being assented. The issues of politics we can set aside for purposes of this bill. Mr. Speaker, just talking to a few of the issues that were in contention, or just the broad features of this bill, because perhaps there could be Kenyans listening today who have not followed the debate on this particular coffee bill. Mr. Speaker, this bill brings back the Coffee Board of Kenya and establishes a Coffee Research Training Institute. Mr. Speaker, we must have a conversation with the CS responsible for agriculture and the Council of Governors to ensure that we have clarity on our strategic objective and our strategic direction for the agriculture sector. Mr. Speaker, at some point, we established one super agency called the AFA, Agriculture, Food, Fisheries Authority. And that was established during the Mwai Kibaki days. It was hailed as a solution or as a vehicle that would take us to Vision 2030. And Vision 2030 and this Vision Singapore, Mr. Speaker, are not too far apart. But we have torn apart what we established under AFA. The first sector to devolve from AFA was fisheries. I was in this house, Mr. Speaker, when we, in 2016, sponsored the Fisheries Management and Development Act, because we felt that AFA was not providing that visibility and that special care for fish farmers in this country. Mr. Speaker, even though we've got a very elegant piece of legislation supported by regulations, we established the Kenya Fisheries Service, we established the Kenya Fish Marketing Authority, we established a Fish Research Institute, we even established a fish levy fund. Today, Mr. Speaker, that legislation has not been fully implemented, and we are still stuck on regulations. And that is why I was quite keen to see that we are not leaving too much to regulations in this particular proposal. Because when you leave too much to regulations, the regulation-making entities sometimes take too long to bring regulations to this House. And so they render the hard work of senators and members of National Assembly to be useless for lack of regulations. After fisheries, Mr. Speaker, tea devolved. Cotton devolved. Senator Beth Siengo brought a cotton industry development bill. And Mr. Speaker, what was unfortunate was after this House had painstakingly gone through the cotton industry development bill, and Senator Murango has just reminded me that 30% of Kenya's soil is called black cotton soil. So it tells you that in 30% of this country, we could be growing cotton. Instead of importing cotton from Egypt to feed the industries in Athi River that take things for AGOA in the United States, it is possible for us to produce cotton. And so, Speaker, what did the Cabinet Secretary do? The Cabinet Secretary then initiated a presidential memorandum to say that it is not part of the government's strategic policy direction to establish additional state corporations. And as a result, the presidential memorandum was asking Parliament to undo whatever the Cotton Industry Development Bill was proposing. And Mr. Speaker, for those of us who hail from areas with black cotton soil, the question was, when we were divesting tea from AFA, there was no problem about state corporations. When we were divesting dairy, there was no problem about too many state corporations. When you are divesting sugar, when you are divesting other products, why is it that when you are divesting cotton, that is when there's concern that there's crawl, there's too much, there are too many state corporations being established? Mr. Speaker, I hope that we're not going to get those kind of arguments in this particular case, because the Coffee Board of Kenya, the Coffee Research Training Institute, one might consider them to be additional state corporations. But Mr. Speaker, the impact they have on the economy of our country must not be looked at from the simple lens of additional CEOs or additional drivers or additional bureaucracy. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the economic impact of coffee, and if you look at what we used to do in coffee and what we can do, it does not matter whether you set up some institute or you set up some board, because if it brings proper alignment of that sector, the benefits are going to outstrip the cost. Mr. Speaker, so this is one conversation that the national government should have with the Senate. We would be very happy to review the sessional paper on agriculture. In 2021, there was a policy statement on agriculture sector that was brought to this House. But Mr. Speaker, you know that 2021 and the administration that is in place right now, the priorities might have changed. I was quite happy when I listened to the President when he addressed Parliament not too long ago, when he talked about his new focus. And he talked about food security. He talked about making sure that we harvest water, we put up these super dams, we take advantage of large-scale agriculture. Yes, that is important, but we must also focus on the smallholders. And so I believe that this is part of the President's focus, and the CS for agriculture should make it easy by coming here, explaining the government's policy on agriculture, and we can bring the Council of Governors on board. Those are the kind of conversations we'd love to have with the governors. Mr. Speaker, as I wind down my reply, I've already said that let's not leave too much to regulation. It is becoming a concern not just in Kenya, but across the Commonwealth. It is now being referred to as skeleton legislation, that members of Parliament have become so lazy that they will do the skeleton, and for the flesh, they will leave it to the cabinet secretaries or to the regulators. Mr. Speaker, that can pose a problem, because a number of the regulations, we have seen regulations that have taken force without coming to Parliament. But on the other hand, we have also seen cases where Parliament requires regulations to be brought within a certain time frame, and that is not done. And Mr. Speaker, I recall there was one piece of legislation we passed, or we debated in this House. It was part of the NADCO bills that was going to put clear timelines and provide clear consequences to regulation-making entities that do not do what they need to do in good time. Mr. Speaker, the CS in charge of cooperatives, CS Oparanya, has been walking around talking to cooperatives and trying to revive coffee cooperatives. Of course, there's still the issue of outstanding loans that some of these cooperatives hold. But Mr. Speaker, CS Oparanya, for those of us who have met him in his office and in other events, has made it clear that there was a colonial notion that coffee could only grow in certain parts of the country. There was this colonial notion that even tea could only grow in areas called the White Highlands. Mr. Speaker, Homa Bay County is a coffee producer. In the year 2023-2024, we produced 629 bags. And Mr. Speaker, 629 bags fetched our farmers close to 20 million. And if you look at the value per bag, it's almost 10 times the value you're getting from maize. Some parts of this country, due to many, many reasons, due to a colonial mindset, Mr. Speaker, some parts of this country are still stuck with what we call poverty crops. Senator Morango has just simulated to me how a coffee farmer on 1 acre can make 1 million shillings a year. We who come from the sugar belt, Senator Beatrice Ogola and I. Senator Ogola, you know that what you call a successful sugarcane farmer, for you to make 300,000 shillings per acre a year, you have to be extremely lucky. Why are some regions of this country stuck with poverty crops while the real cash crops are still left in certain small pockets of this country? Mr. Speaker, we need to democratize agriculture. And democratizing agriculture is by ensuring that where the soil agrees with a certain crop, we allow the people in that area to produce that crop. One thing I know about Kenyans, Mr. Speaker, and when I talk about Kenyans, I can talk about my parents,